We got a couple big breaking stories in the past 12 or so hours. The first, the Supreme Court has sided with Donald Trump, removing a block, allowing Trump to appropriate military funding to build the border wall. This is huge news. Now, the war isn't over. He's won this battle, but other organizations may still be able to sue, notably governmental. The Supreme Court ruling basically falls on the people filing the lawsuit, nonprofits. They don't have standing to file the lawsuit. So Trump is winning for now, which may allow construction to begin, but we'll see what happens. The next big breaking story we have, the U.S. and Guatemala have signed an agreement to restrict asylum cases. This is huge, a huge win for Trump. The asylum deal is going to help Trump keep Central American migrants out of Mexico and the U.S., and the Supreme Court is allowing him to essentially begin construction on the border wall. But here is the great kicker. What's the media talking about? Trump has just got a Supreme Court ruling on his side. You'd imagine the media would be rushing, saying, this is big, we've got to talk about this. And well, of course, I don't want to be overly hyperbolic. We do see many news organizations talking about the issue. But is it the U.S. trend? Are journalists talking about this? No. They're talking about, look, you know what they're talking about. Do I even need to say it? Donald Trump tweeted. I'm being serious. Donald Trump tweeted. That's the big trending story right now. And I'm sitting here wondering, should I condemn Trump's tweets as being insensitive, racist, like many people are, or should I talk about the important news dealing with the southern border, which I do a lot. I made a bunch of videos and segments about immigration, and here we are once again. And I know I'm going to be criticized because I'm not dedicating or leading this video with the big breaking news about Victor Blackwell. Victor Blackwell being a CNN anchor who was nearly brought to tears over Donald Trump's tweets. And this is what I'm seeing all of the high-profile journalists talk about. This is the big story that's trending. West Baltimore, Victor Blackwell. Now, of course, Catterday is trending, and get me naked in 5 words, but sure, people talk about this stuff. That's the real world. But I can't say I'm surprised to see that with all of this massive breaking news, a victory for Trump, the narrative has shifted to Trump is a bad person. He has successfully got them talking about his character again. Now, let me just explain really quickly before we get into the real news why this is important. When big news breaks about the border, Trump winning with SCOTUS, if the activists on the left focus on that, they will rally a defense and go after him and try and stop this. By successfully distracting them once again, they are focused now on him being a bad person, but all they're really going to do is insult him and attack him for these statements. They're not going to file any paperwork. They're not going to sue him. If the fight was kept on the border, if Trump didn't distract them, we'd see more lawsuits. We'd see more challenges. So Trump wants to make sure they're watching his right hand while his left is signing policy. So I'll get into a little bit about this because I do have Trump's tweets pulled up. I do want to talk a bit about the Victor Blackwell stuff, but we'll start with the real news. What's going on with the border? Now, before we do that, head over to timcast.com/donate. If you want to support my work, there's a PayPal option, a crypto option, a physical address where you can send whatever you want. Of course, the best thing you can do, subscribe, like, comment, engage with the video, but in all honesty, share it. YouTube is deranking independent commentary. If you think this video is important, then I rely on your word of mouth, sharing the videos to continue doing what I do. So let's see what's going on from Politico. Supreme Court gives Trump go-ahead on border wall. I cannot stress how huge this is. Think about last week. I'm sorry to deviate again, but Trump effectively ended asylum for most asylees coming through Mexico, and he distracted the media by railing against the far-left Democrats. Politico reports President Donald Trump scored a major victory at the Supreme Court on Friday as the justices lifted a lower court order blocking a key part of his plan to expand the border wall with Mexico. The Justice Department had asked the justices to stay a pair of rulings an Oakland-based federal judge issued in May and June blocking Trump's plan to use about $2.5 billion in unspent military funds for wall projects in California, Arizona, and New Mexico. All the Republican-appointed justices voted in favor of allowing Trump to proceed with the aspect of his plan while litigation over the issue continues. This is huge. All the Democratic-appointed justices dissented, except for Stephen Breyer, who said he would have allowed the contracting process to move forward but blocked actual construction. The president touted the ruling in a tweet Friday evening. Wow, big victory on the wall. The United States Supreme Court overturns lower court injunction. allows southern border wall to proceed. Big win for border security and the rule of law. Now, I want to make sure I'm fair. Listen, in my view, I believe Trump is trying to distract the press, and he's doing it very, very well. That isn't to say he doesn't really believe what he's saying. No, I think he knows he wants to keep the media shifted. I will also stress there is an argument against my view, though I lean towards that initial opinion. With Trump tweeting about the wall, he is signaling to the left, here we go, he's publicizing it. So it would be fair to say that Trump isn't trying to distract the media, although I do think that is the case. I think, again, just in my opinion, how I view this, Trump wants to make sure his supporters know he won. He then tweets something he knows his supporters don't care about. So now he gets, again, I think it's a little bit weak. I will admit that. I do. But I do think this is the more likely of the two outcomes. Trump signals to his base, we won, and then immediately dangles some, offensive tweet to distract the left so he can get the best of both worlds. Trump isn't necessarily trying to get the left to fight him. He's trying to distract them, but still maintain his advantage. But let's read on. I don't want to prattle on that. That was a jump cut for that reason. They say, however, the ruling may not signal that all challenges to the border wall funding in dispute are certain to fail. The Supreme Court rarely explains its reasons for granting or denying a stay, but the order Friday declared that the government has made a sufficient showing. At this stage, the plaintiffs have no cause of action to obtain review of the decision to transfer the funds from a Pentagon account. The statement suggests that the 5 justices in the majority agreed with the Trump administration's arguments that the groups who obtained the injunction, the Sierra Club and the Southern Border Communities Coalition, lacked a valid legal mechanism to enforce the budget Ryder Trump officials were allegedly violating. That may not rule out the possibility that others who have sued over the same policy, including 20 states and the House of Representatives, might have stronger claims. The state's suit was essentially set aside due to the injunction granted to the private groups. A judge dismissed the House's suit last month, but that ruling is on appeal. Nancy Pelosi tweeted later Friday, this evening's Supreme Court ruling allowed Donald Trump to steal military funds to spend on a wasteful, ineffective border wall rejected by Congress is deeply flawed. Our founders designed a democracy governed by the people, not a monarchy. Now, look, the issue here is it's going to the courts. Nancy Pelosi obviously is fighting Trump, but so far we are within legal precedents. Trump is allowed to appropriate funds as he see fits. They're allowed to challenge him, and the courts will decide. As it stands right now, the people who got the injunction may have actually hurt the left because I think it's a fair argument. The Sierra Club has no legal standing to argue for government funds. If the House of Representatives want to file a suit, well, they've lost, so they're on appeal. If these other states want to file suit, this all makes sense. These are governmental agencies who are arguing over how Trump is spending the money of the government and whether or not it's constitutional. Trump may still lose this one. But for now, I think the important takeaway, to go back to the issue of why I think Trump is trying to make sure they're distracted and off base and off message, is that Trump is in a vulnerable position. It was five justices sided with Trump, meaning it was a very close call. And they've only agreed, they didn't agree that he was allowed to do it, just that those who sued didn't have a legal standing, which means it was barely a victory for Trump. But it is a huge victory, okay? So what I mean to say is he almost lost this one. But because he did win, it's going to set major things in motion, building the wall. A lot of Trump supporters have been complaining that no new wall has been built. Now, they've built new walls where old walls used to be. That's the complaint, that Trump needs to start actually expanding the walls. There have been some private walls, and I don't know the full details of what's going on and how much of it has been expanded, but this is going to allow Trump to signal to his base that they're winning, even if only a little bit. And he's running a huge risk that the left might step in and file more lawsuits or push this, and he could lose in the long run. So any distraction is a welcome distraction. But you know what? Throw the distraction argument out entirely. Throw it out entirely. It's just my opinion, which I feel is it's kind of a weak prediction. It's kind of a weak view. I have to admit that. I don't know exactly what Trump's trying to do. All I really want to say is, regardless of his intent, he has distracted the media. Period. Because when you look at the trends, this is a screenshot from just around the time of filming this. Why aren't people making this story go viral? Why aren't they saying, we've got to fight back? Why aren't they saying Trump is wrong? Oh no, SCOTUS. Oh no, this is what Trump wanted with Brett Kavanaugh. Why aren't they saying it? They just don't care. And I'll tell you why. In this video of Victor Blackwell, I'll say this. I sympathize with the man. Victor Blackwell is brought to near tears and has to pause because Trump said no human being would want to live in Baltimore or an area of Baltimore because of crime and things like that. And Victor Blackwell is from Baltimore. So he took personal offense and was very emotional about it. I can respect him on a human level and say, man, I don't like it when things devolve to this, but I also have to say something more important. For one, you're an adult. People say mean things, okay? I don't think you should be crying or being brought to tears by this, but you know what? Sometimes people are, and I can respect that. But more importantly, I will be critical. While I can respect that he offended you, that it was mean-spirited, and you are pushing back with great emotion, that's great. CNN needs to be a professional news broadcaster, okay? You are presenting the news, you are talking about what Trump said, and you are challenging him over the past things he said. Fine. The segment Victor Blackwell brings up is how Trump uses the word infested all the time and he believes it's racist. If that's your opinion, by all means have it. But CNN needs to retain an air of professionalism. Let's speak English here. What I'm trying to get to is, when I saw this and I see all these journalists tweeting about it, I'm just like, for one, Trump is distracting you again. It's working. And the reality TV that is our political sphere is playing right into it. And upon seeing this thing with Victor Blackwell, I really wanted to just be like, wow, what's the point? CNN, the most trusted name in news, they say. It's reality television, man. It's a guy crying, the president is racist, and then I'm like, this is not news. This is not even analysis. It is acting. Okay, I'm being a bit mean here. I'm sure Victor is sincere. He's not an actor. But I'm like, we're watching reality television. We're watching people say like, oh, that president said mean things and almost crying. And people going, oh no, he's crying. And I'm like, dude, I get it. But CNN is supposed to be news. Okay, I'm not going to cry here. I'm not going to cry and break down and say, oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. No, I'm going to try and assess the situation to the best of my abilities. Now, look, in the end, CNN can do what they want. Fine. People can be interested in what they want. West Baltimore, Victor Blackwell are still trending. Fine. Catterday is trending above that. Even better. Okay? But when it comes to politics, you think people would care about the real news. U.S., Guatemala sign agreement to restrict asylum cases. Trump is winning on this front. Now, here's the thing. I'm a moderate. You guys know that. So I'm not looking at Trump's winning as like a bad thing. Okay, I will criticize the man for all the things he needs to be criticized for. I will. And the immigration thing is, we need border security. I agree with Barack Obama. I'm going to say that I don't agree with Trump. I agree with Obama. Okay, I don't know exactly what's different about their positions, but I agree with Obama on a lot of these issues. And actually, I take that back. Obama kind of went too far. He did. And Trump is now, there was a report recently that Trump ended family separation, or I should say has reunited something like 95% of children with their legal guardians or their parents. So that's ending on Trump's watch. But for the most part, I'll say this. Obama had very similar policies, okay? So I don't know where that leaves me as someone who voted for the guy. Not a fan of him after he left, but have good things to say about him in terms of charisma and leadership. I think Obama had better... Well, I was going to say I felt like Obama had more charisma, was a better leader, but I will stress they're playing to two different audiences. And the conservatives felt this, like, I'll say this too. I would imagine that conservatives today have a similar feeling about Obama that Obama supporters had about Trump. But I will say the left takes it way too far, right? People on the right thought Obama was a dangerous guy, that he was socialist and bad. And there were some people that were, calling him the worst of the worst thing you could possibly call him. But I think most conservatives just felt like they lost and Obama was a bad guy with bad policies. Whereas a lot of what we hear from the left tends to be, I'm not even going to say it, but orange man bad, just like the orange man bad stuff. So personally, from where I come from, I'm not a fan of Trump's demeanor, but I can recognize why people would support that I would. So anyway, let's read this story because I think the news is more important, though I also think it's important to point out how easily distracted the political sphere and the media is. This one's from the Seattle Times, reported by the Associated Press. The Trump administration signed an agreement with Guatemala Friday that will restrict asylum applications to the U.S. from Central America. The so-called Safe Third Country Agreement would require migrants, including Salvadorans and Hondurans, who cross into Guatemala on their way to the U.S. to apply for protections in Guatemala instead of at the U.S. border. It would potentially ease the crush of migrants overwhelming the U.S. immigration system, although many questions remain about how the agreement will be executed. President Donald Trump heralded the concession as a win as he struggles to live up to his campaign promises on immigration. This is a very big day. We have long been working with Guatemala, and now we can do it the right way. This landmark agreement will put the coyotes and smugglers out of business. The announcement comes after a court in California blocked Trump's most restrictive asylum effort to date, one that would effectively end protections at the southern border. The two countries had been negotiating such an agreement for months, and Trump threatened Wednesday to place tariffs or other consequences on Guatemala if it didn't reach a deal. We'll either do tariffs or we'll do something. We're looking at something very severe with respect to Guatemala, so travel restrictions potentially. On Friday, Trump praised the Guatemalan government, saying now it has a friend in the United States instead of an enemy in the United States. So the interesting point here, though, is that Guatemala had been blocked by their own courts from engaging in this. And so we're not entirely sure how this will move forward. I don't know if they get into the greater detail about what's going on with the internal workings, but I want to keep this focused on America, and I want to loop these things back together. So let me make a couple points. The safe third country agreement allows Trump to disallow anyone from declaring asylum if they've passed through Guatemala. Now you've got people in Africa who are flying to Brazil and making their way up. You have people coming from South America making their way up. If they go through Guatemala, they will legally be required to apply in Guatemala. And if they don't, they will not be eligible in the U.S. Now, his asylum ruling is being challenged in court by the ACLU, but I believe this is the bigger story that Trump doesn't want anyone to hear about. This is the bigger play. Now, look, U.S. courts and lawsuits can stop Trump all day of the week, but Trump signed a safe third country agreement. I don't think they can actually challenge that. They don't have a great standing to challenge because it's something that would be happening in a different country. So I'm not going to sit here and make this argument about Trump's a master of 4D chess. But CNN said it, and I highlighted this in a video the other day. Trump is a dangerous media mastermind. That's why, even though I'm like, is Trump really trying to distract the Democrats in this regard? He did tweet about the wall. I lean towards he is, because look, if even CNN can concede Trump knows what he's doing when it comes to media, that's his biggest strength, I think it's extremely likely. And this is the underplayed story with an update from today, which says to me, Trump probably cares about the wall getting built. It's a big campaign promise, and now he can move forward, but he knows the lawsuits are already there. So by tweeting about that, they see that, okay, the lawsuits are already there going to the appellate courts. But he then makes this tweet about Elijah Cummings, about Baltimore, and where's the conversation about the next big news? Now listen, you can argue the Guatemala stuff isn't the biggest news in the world. I think it's decently large. The bigger issue is that Trump's real fight is on the southern border. It's been his biggest campaign promise. They even say in these articles, Trump is desperately trying to get this win. The big criticism from his own base is not that he's a racist. It's that he's not getting the wall done. So think about Trump's strategy. Fine. If his base doesn't care that he's racist, he'll say these things all day and night. Now, of course, his base is saying the tweet he sent out about Baltimore isn't racist. Baltimore is a crime-ridden place. Sure. But he knows the left always will, and he knows his base won't care, which means he can very easily play the line where he doesn't go too far to where even conservatives are criticizing him, which he did last week. He can get the left on his case and ignoring the real victories he's pulling off when it comes to immigration because he knows that's what his base wants. His base, think about this. What can the left do about Trump's tweets? Condemn them? That's it. And then Trump can keep tweeting all day and night. But the left and the Democrats really could take action against his policies. Trump needs to keep them off base and off message. Because aside from the immigration debate, he's got another victory on this front. The Democrats aren't talking about what we as Americans need. They're complaining about the president's character. And so long as he keeps getting them to do that, the Democrats aren't offering anything substantive to the American people. Now, I will concede, according to Gallup, leadership issues is one of the top most pressing issues for Americans. In a poll from Gallup, around 27% of people said they felt leadership problems was the most pressing issue. But it's only around 27%. I could have the number wrong, so forgive me, but it was though one of the biggest, it was still relatively low. That means Trump knows he might lose people by looking like he's, I typically say boorish, bad-mannered, and offensive. But he also knows his base is bigger than that. He also knows a lot of Americans don't care about how he sounds so long as he gets the job done. It's one of the common things I've heard from many people when talking about the president and how they support him. Like I mentioned, I was recently in Dallas. I'm in an Uber. The Uber driver said he was a conservative. He really didn't like Trump's attitude, but Trump was getting the job done, and at least Trump was strong. Trump knows this. He plays to this. So he's keeping them all riled up over things they can do nothing about. Meanwhile, he's actually fulfilling his promises and taking action that will help secure his reelection. You know what, man? There are people who just don't like the fact that I point this out. They don't like the fact that I'm saying the Democrats aren't offering us anything. But let me just stress, it's from where I view the world. It's from where I come from. As a moderate, saying, I would like the Democrats to present me with a real policy position that I can get behind. And I've routinely praised the policy positions and the actions they've done that have been good. I am not here to hate them for simply being Democrats. Not at all. I want to find a good principled Democrat with real policy positions. But what do we end up seeing is the Green New Deal? We end up seeing bickering about Trump's words, condemnation. Nothing got done on the House floor. And that was actually a Democrat who said that, storming out when Nancy Pelosi called Trump a racist. I don't care. Okay, I get it. Give me something to vote for. Stop complaining about the attitudes of this man and prove why you're better leaders. They're not doing it. They don't have the charisma. They don't have the strength. Okay, I will stress, I much respect to Warren and Ocasio-Cortez when they challenge big tech. I can criticize some of the other things they've done for sure. Campaign issues related to their staff and pay. Fine. But do something good, and I am here for you, okay? Elizabeth Warren, I saw one of her policy proposals on big tech, and I said, hey, you know what? Good on you. That's something substantive. Stop spending time talking about the orange man and do something. But in the end, I'll leave you with this. Trump knows the game better than they do. And he has outclassed the Democrats. The Democrats are so outclassed when it comes to the media. I just don't see them being able to win. Trump's entire life has been about perception and media and marketing. And he is one of the best in the world ever. And only a fool would think otherwise. I can't remember what I was watching, but it was like a fantasy movie where they said, they said the villain was a great and powerful man and only a fool would reject that. It doesn't mean the person is good. I'm not saying you have to like Trump, but I'm saying if you underestimate his ability to dominate and control the narrative, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. And as much as the media has been negative about Trump, and it is frustrating, Trump still knows how to game that to his advantage. Case in point. When Trump gets them to talk about his character, he knows the media will go bad. He knows they don't like him, so he gives them something to latch onto. And they take the bait every single time. How is it? A week has gone by, and we're seeing the exact same thing. Journalists, do your jobs. So yes, I will absolutely make sure I cover the big stories on the border. It was really funny, I gotta say. This NBC journalist tweeted, why isn't anyone talking about Trump ending, the new asylum rule? I had a video up that day talking about it. Major breaking news, got 500,000 views. You know what that says to me? Look, I know I do political commentary on this channel, but I'm trying to address serious issues that matter, that are going to affect the world, affect our politics, that need to be talked about. And that means if Trump makes a major move, that's what I'm talking about. That means when Trump wins in SCOTUS, that's what I'm talking about. But what would they prefer I talk about? Why are they mad at my channel? Because I don't have a video titled, Trump is the bad man who insulted Victor Blackwell. Then I didn't make a video with blue instead of red where I say Victor Blackwell upset over Trump racist tweet. That's what they want me to talk about. They say, talk about that, Tim. That's what liberals talk about. No, I'm going to talk about what's important, what needs to get done to help bring this country together, and what's having the biggest impact on the country. And it's Trump's manipulation of the press and the Democrats, and it's a SCOTUS ruling and Trump's new rules. These are the most important stories we have today, and that's what I'm bringing you. I appreciate everybody who watches this and understands that and respects it, and I'm doing the best I can. We've got a ton of really awesome projects coming up, and I am going to have more solid journalistic endeavors on Subverse coming up. So Subverse is doing its thing, but I'm preparing bigger long-form projects that will be a more journalistic capacity. So the stuff I will present in the news-related stuff, I will promote here. You'll see it. Stick around. Next segments are coming up, youtube.com/TimCastNews. These are all political commentary and news stuff, but you understand that. But I will have some more harder-hitting investigative pieces. We're working on a big analysis report addressing algorithms and politics and how media has been influenced. It's going to be really great. So stick around. I will see you all in the next segment at 6 p.m.